Congrats, you landed your first or several dental interviews. So what do you do next? The first thing you want to do is find out what kind of format it's going to be in. And the best way you can do that is look on SDN or ask someone who already goes to that school. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Hannah. I'm a first year dental student and I am just here to share with you some of my interview tips. There are different types of formats. The first thing you probably want to ask a student is it open or closed notes? Open notes meaning your interviewer has your application out on the table and can ask you questions from your application, or it's closed notes meaning your interviewer has never read your application and it's just free for all of what they want to ask you and it's just whatever you want to talk about. And the second thing you want to ask them is it going to be one-on-one, a group interview, or a MMI or multiple mini interview? So tip number 2 is to review questions. If you review questions, you kind of get an idea of what they will ask you, and you'll notice that there's a common theme to most interview questions. It's usually like, tell me about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Why this school? Why dentistry? Like, you'll see that they all kind of fall under these categories, and those are questions I actually got asked as well. And after you reviewed a lot of questions, you'll probably notice that there's a common theme. The next best thing to really do is to have an idea bank, and this helps you reflect and remember those past experiences that you've had so that you can talk about them and incorporate them into your answers, and so that you're not scrambling for an idea and panicking when you're in that interview, because it helps you prepare yourself and stay calm because you know that in the back of your head you have these ideas, you have these experiences, and you remember them. Plus, when you incorporate an experience of your own into your answer, it makes it more personal, and it's like a green flag for interviewers because they're like, okay, you can talk about your experiences, you know what happened, you can talk about them in detail, meaning you actually participated. You didn't just participate because you wanted hours to put on your resume. So the next best thing after you've reviewed your questions and I come up with an idea bank is to practice with people. So have an advisor or have friends ask you questions and have them give you feedback on your answers, because it really does help with coming up with ideas, making your answers more concise, and like stop the rambling and make you less nervous. It really does look like you've come prepared and you're more confident. And last little tip I wanted to say before I go over interview questions that I got asked is that you are able to steer the interview the way you want it to go. If they ask you about a strength of yours and you're really passionate about research, you can incorporate research into your answer, and that's like a bonus point because you've answered the question of like, what is your strength? You've given an example that has to do with your passion, and then they can probably follow up with a question about, oh, like what kind of research did you do? What did you research in? Like, did you publish? And those are like brownie points added on top of your answer. So I actually got asked like, what is a strength of mine? And I'm really passionate about nonprofit work or like public health and working with the community. In my answer, the strength of mine was leadership and communication. So I talked about how I led my team and communicated with them actively, checking in with them, and how I delegated tasks when I was planning this project or planning the curriculum for my nonprofit project. And the next question I got asked was, oh, like, tell me more about your nonprofit. So you can definitely steer the interview your way. It's just you have to be smart about it. So now I'm going to share with you 2 questions that I actually got asked during my dental interviews and show you how I answered them, and hopefully these help you out. These are some of the questions I got asked that I thought were challenging to me, so hopefully you don't get asked them, or if you do, that you're prepared because you're watching this video. Rank intelligence, compassion, and integrity in the order of importance to you. So I would rank integrity first, then compassion, and then intelligence last. And the reason I rank integrity first is because I believe honesty is very important. As a person and as a healthcare provider, it's very important. Everyone appreciates honesty. When you're honest with a patient, they know that they can trust you so that your work carries further. They want to come back with you and they're more comfortable with you. That's why I rank that first over compassion and intelligence. And the reason I rank compassion second is because after honesty, it's really important to be empathetic and sympathetic to your patient. You really want to understand where they're coming from, and when they feel that you understand and that you are actively listening about their concerns, it strengthens that trust they have in you, and they want to come back to you and they will trust your work. And that's really important in a patient and a healthcare provider relationship. And I ranked intelligence last because in my years of schooling and education, I've noticed that even though I may not be the most intelligent or the smartest of the class, I can put in the work to get the same grade as someone who is more intelligent than me. And so they have that saying of practice makes perfect. I really believe that if you put in the work, you can become just as intelligent. And so that's why I rank that last, because it's something you can put in the work for. And I feel like integrity and compassion are way more important to first gain the trust of a patient, or to gain the trust of a person in general, before intelligence. And the second question that I got asked was, how do you deal with conflict? Can you give an example? I try to solve conflict by first reflecting on the conversation or my actions and that caused the conflict, because I've noticed in the past that conflict is caused by miscommunication, misinterpretation, mistranslation. It's never just one-sided, it's usually both. So I want to reflect on my actions, reflect on what I said, because it may have been miscommunicated. And then I'll approach the person and ask, like, can we talk about it? And actively listen to what they have to say and what their perspective was, because I might have missed it, it might have been miscommunicated. And after they've told me their perspective, I like to repeat back to them in my words of my understanding of what they said. And then that usually starts to move us forward in solving the conflict, because then there's active listening, there's clear communication, and that's what helps solve the conflict, or we can agree to disagree. So this actually happened when I was working for my nonprofit project, where I was working with a coworker, and we had a disagreement about how to go about a presentation and how to present and deliver a presentation. And I took a minute to look at their slides to understand their perspective. I then approached them to ask them like what their perspective was, how did they want to deliver, what their idea was. And after communicating my idea and listening to her idea, we found that we actually have the same intention. It's just our delivery is very different, and we actually found a compromise because we clearly have the same intent. It's just our way of delivery wasn't the same, because there's so many different ideas and so many ways to deliver. And after discussing, we picked the best parts of each of our ideas in delivery, and we came up with a pretty good presentation to deliver our nonprofit project. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. That's how I prepared for my interviews when I was interviewing, and hopefully answering those questions helped you get a better sense of how to come up with an answer, or to how to answer a question when asked. Those were the most challenging questions I got asked. Most of them are really common ones, like tell me about yourself, like what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and they were all very conversational. Students and faculty just really are trying to get to know you. But yeah. Good luck on interviewing, and I'll see you guys in the next video.